Good evening, everybody. You know, spring 2020, I was a very, very happy stay-at-home mom. I thought I really don't want to go back to professional life. I've done it for many, many years. I enjoyed my work. I had a nice career. But look, at the end of the summer of 2020, I launched a movement. Now we are in half of the state of the United States and advocating for parental rights. What happened? How come this changed? So something did happen in the spring of 2020. It started with COVID, something that none of us has experienced before, something that really threw us off our regular schedule, our mindset. Our life turned upside down. But then as we were progressing toward the end of the school year, I live outside Philadelphia in Lower Merion School District. The principal of our school, my two boys, my younger boy was 2nd grade, my middle boy was 4th grade. The principal, 2 days before school was over, Wednesday afternoon, we are getting an email, my husband and I, the lesson plan for the next day is going to be changed. What's going to be the lesson plan? And then we get a description, a table. This is for kindergarten and 1st grade. This one is for 2nd grade and 3rd grade. And the last one for 4th and 5th grade. My husband opens the links. There are links also to the material, to the books. And he rushed to me and said, "You've got to see this." So I'm opening the links. I read the books. And I'm saying, absolutely not. We are writing a message right away to the teachers and the principal. We are opting our kids out of the classes. Those lessons plans, those books, I'll say bluntly, were racist. And we did not our kids to be part of it. At dinner time, we always have dinner together, and I recommend it to all the families. We explain to the kids why they're not going to be participating in the class next day. We went over the issue. They understand what's happening in society, the turmoil. Everybody has been exposed to that. You hear about it. You cannot ignore it. And then I decided to write a letter to the superintendent. Keep in mind, I don't know what the school board was at that time. I had no clue. I never saw a school board member. I don't know what the superintendent does. The only thing really I knew about the school board, I was complaining why our taxes has been going up, and my husband would say, that's a school board decision. That's why you're paying more taxes. So that's the only thing I knew that the school board does. And no clue what responsibilities they have and who actually make the decision that affect our life in such a way. So that's when I started going on a really journey and opening up really my mind into how all those critical decisions about our life, about our families, about our children are taking place, who is making them. So the first thing I did, the school was over, I went and I wrote a letter to our superintendent. I copied the principal and the school board members. Here we are, almost 3 years later, I never got a reply. And I'm not surprised, because after I launched the movement, this is something that I've heard over and over and over again from parents. They're writing to superintendent, they're writing to school board, and they're being ignored. That was really, I was very surprised that I haven't heard anything. And you have to remember at that time, we are all hunkered down at home with the COVID, with the mask, with the fear, not knowing really what to expect, barely going even to the supermarket, ordering food online. This was really a crazy period. You don't interact with friends. So, well, I do what everybody does. I post a message on Facebook page of the parents at the school. And I say, this is what I found out. This is the letter I wrote to the superintendent and the school board. Nobody is answering me. So did you know about this? Are you experiencing any of this? What do you think about my letter? And that was really a very good opportunity for them to lynch me and to call me all the names in the book, from racist and bigot and not in our community. and take me down. Take her down, take her out, we're suffering enough. Well, I was kind of surprised that also at the same time, I'm getting private messages from a lot of people, more than the people that lynched me. And those private messages are supporting me and complimenting me for my courage and saying all the same thing. We're afraid to speak up. We're afraid to stand up. You're speaking for us. I was very surprised to hear that. Because then I went to see who those people who are lynching me, like a shooting squad, and I'm sitting there because there's like only 15 people. And the school has over 1,000 people. So this is a tiny, tiny minority of the parents. And that's something that I always remembered since I launched the movement. Because the people who are opposing parental rights, people who are opposing what we are really pushing for and advocating for, are a small minority. Unfortunately, they have enormous power, and I'll get to it. But basically, we have really the majority of Americans who are common sense American who knows easily to distinguish between right and wrong. This is not a political issue. This is a simple issue of common sense of right and wrong. Well, I did not give up. I tried a few more Facebook pages of my community, and the same pattern happened. And the people are writing me those private messages. That's really what got me. That's really the point when I say it doesn't make sense. Here I am, an immigrant, legal. And here they are, all these people risking their life, the life of the children, throwing them over even a wall to come to America because they know this is a country with a constitution. This is a country that protects your right as a human being, as an individual. This is a country that has really courts to uphold the law, to protect your rights. So people are coming here for the freedoms and for the protection of our freedom as human beings and as individuals. And here, American-born people are afraid to speak up, to exercise their First Amendment. Why? Because somebody dared to call them racist? Because somebody that doesn't know them from Adam calls them bigot? So what? Why are you not getting up to protect your child? I know all the parents who give birth to their kids, the women I mean, all of them. And the fathers who are the fathers of the children, definitely said that I'm going to take the bullet for my kid. I'm going to jump in front of the bus for my kid. Where are they? Why are they not getting up? What are they scared of? This is really the threat that makes you afraid to stand up? Excuse me, what's going to happen when the Chinese are going to be here? They're not that far, by the way. What's going to happen? What will make you stand up for your kids, for your community, for your nation? We're sending our kids abroad to take bullets, real bullets. And you are not, and you're afraid? So I launched the movement. I had a handful of those moms that wrote me that they are supporting me, come to my living room, and I said, I'm launching a national movement. We have to stand up. We have to protect our children, our communities, and our country. Because we saw what's happening on the street in 2020. We saw the lawlessness. We saw that the law was not being held. That's right. And people could not protect themselves. Looting, shooting, criminal behavior, and people are locked down in their houses. Well, now we are in half of the state in the United States, and I'm very proud that we have our chapter leader in Delaware right here, James, in the front. See, taking picture. Thank you, James. So what are we for? Why did I launch the movement? The essence of our movement is really parental rights. we as parents have the legal rights to make decisions regarding our children, regarding fundamental matters regarding our children, being education, being religion, being medical decision. We do have the legal right to make those decisions. And what we are finding out very fast is the academic year 2020, 21, 21, 22, and still that we are being really stripped of these legal rights. We don't even know what they're teaching our kids at school. We have to file FOIAs. We have to file what in Pennsylvania we call right to know under the Freedom of Information Act. And we have to pay money. And we are taxpayers to know what the kids are being taught at school. It doesn't make sense. We have to find out that the teacher is transitioning a child and the parents don't even know. But you know that parents in Florida got a phone call and told him that his daughter is being taken to the hospital because she tried to commit suicide in the bathroom. And that was the second time because they were transitioning her at school. Her parents didn't know. He met his daughter only in the emergency room. They pulled her out and there is a lawsuit now. And she's not the only one. So what really our rights are in this country as parents? Slide, please. Yeah, I'm telling stories, but we'll have to get some information. One basic information, we have to understand that the Constitution doesn't really require us to have a Department of Education. But under Carter, they made some agreement, and in some way, I was not in the country still then, but in some way they convinced even the Republicans, I guess, to get the Department of Education. But I want you to pay attention to the third clause in that statute. Parents have the primary responsibility for the education of the children, and the state, localities, and private institutions have the primary responsibility to support the parents. Unfortunately, what has been happening in the last few years since the COVID, the parents, regardless of say they're not in the driver's seat, they're not in the sitting next to the driver even, they're not in the back seat, they've been thrown out of the car altogether. Parents don't have a say, because even when they go to school board, look at the faces of the school board member. They're like poker faces, they're not even listening. They're just, with the button, 3 minutes, 1 minute, get off. They're not even listening. Some of them even walk away. Or some of them even, like the father in Loudoun County, that his daughter was sexually assaulted in the bathroom, was dragged physically from the school board meeting. I'm glad he's suing, and he's gonna win. So we have to remember that we are supposed to be at the driver's seat and not be at the table, ideally at the table with the teachers, with the school, community, and the parents together as part of the community, making decisions for the benefit of the children and the benefit of the families and the community. Next. And another one, sorry, we'll go back to this one. This is really a very brief history. There are several more laws, but it is important to see that there are some already laws in the book that's supposed to protect us, but unfortunately, it seems that they are not being enforced. And obviously, the 14th Amendment, it was not yesterday that the 14th Amendment was passed, and we are eligible, obviously, for due process, and there is the Equal Protection Clause. And we know for a fact that the Equal Protection Clause is not being applied in schools today. The second one is obviously the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And we know, for example, with what's happening with the CRT teaching, as well as the promoting the gender ideology, the queer ideology, the transgender agenda, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is not being applied as well. It's being violated, grossly violated, I would say. And then we have, of course, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, known as FERPA. And the next one I'm mentioning here are also the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment, also which is supposed to protect, provide the parents with the ability to have access to any information about their children, as well as prevent the school from collecting data and using the data about their children. This is now a very much a policy that is very much can be found in all the schools. There's extensive data collection on our students. Parents don't know about the surveys. Parents are, and many times, even parents who opt their kids out of those surveys, the teacher putting a lot of pressure on the student to take those surveys. And I think some of you probably have heard when Attorney General Garland was asked a question about his, actually his son-in-law running one of the most profitable organization that is running those surveys. So this is something that, again, the law is there to protect us, and when parents are coming and requesting to apply the law and claim their right, they are trampled all over and they're not being exercised. Go to the previous
backward,
yeah, please.
Is that it?
As of now, a lot of states are working on advancing, a lot of legislators in many states are working on advancing parental rights legislation. 15 states already passed this legislation. You can see those states. What's important in this legislation, and that's why I highlighted it in yellow, because that's something that is missing from the legislation in Delaware, is that court protect parental rights by strict scrutiny, which means strict scrutiny means that your parental rights are in fact fundamental rights. In Delaware, that little piece is missing from legislation. And I hope that more parents in this state will put pressure on legislation so parental rights in this state will also become a fundamental right. Last slide. I want to bring you up to date to where things are standing, where at the House of Representatives, which would be HR and not HB, they passed HR 5. And those are the most important point of that legislation. It is important to emphasize that this came about based on the experience, particularly the experience in the recent few years, since the COVID. But this is also something that was impacted what we have been experiencing previously, and noticing that all those amendments that I showed before, like the FERPA and the others, and even the 14th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act, as well as the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, which I did not mention here, all of them had probably some holes, because based on our experience currently, we find out that they did not protect enough parental rights. Therefore, this legislation just passed last month, and hopefully we'll be able to use it to enforce our rights as parents. Thank you very much.